Ani bojo, Nadine Perron Dijnikas, Amik Indodam, Magnetawan Indojiba. My name is Nadine Perron. I'm from Magnetawan First Nation. I have been working there for the last 6 years. I am of settler descent. My grandparents were born and raised in North Bay, Ontario, which is also where I'm from. And I've been working and living close to Magnetawan First Nation for the last 6 years. And they have really welcomed me and adopted me into their community. And that is the place that is very, very special to my heart. And what I want to speak about today is our Guardians program, which has allowed us to be here today and has allowed all these collaborations and partnerships with Wiikwemkoong and the Species at Risk group. So in case you are unfamiliar with where we are, Ani, come on in, sit down. We're over here, and there's Meg, an hour-and-a-half boat ride to Point Grandine. This is an upriver picture of the Magnetawan River, which comes all the way from the headwaters at the base of Algonquin Park and flows down all the way out. And we are at the mouth of the river that flows into Georgian Bay. So one concept of water is life, and this river being our healthy waters mean our healthy ecosystems, our healthy animals. So it's really important when we're working on the land that we're thinking about our water. And what lives in water but our turtles and snakes, our wetlands. The wetlands are what's filtering the water. When the water's running off the roads and the rain comes, it goes into our wetlands. And those plants and animals are the ones that are filtering it. And as it flows out into the river, it becomes more and more safe for less things in the water. Unfortunately, wetland habitat makes for really good agriculture, which is why a lot of our area is now no longer wetlands, why we're experiencing these heavy floods. So one thing as we think in climate change is having these wetlands to buffer the water fluctuations that we anticipate seeing in the future is really important for mitigation for our community and thinking about what is going to happen and how these systems that already exist, that have belonged here and have lived intact, are crucial to what's coming, to all this climate change, to the changes that our environment is going to face. So our lands department developed a species at risk program in 2012. We onboarded some researchers because we were finding there were lots of dead snakes and turtles crossing our roads. So we have 3 really large linear features, anthropogenic features. So we have Highway 69. If anyone's come up through there, it's the racetrack that goes from Parry Sound to Sudbury. We have CP rails, equally a racetrack. They just hide it better. And Highway 529, which is one of the old highways. You can still drive pretty fast, but we do thankfully see a lot more live turtles there than dead ones. But due to these 3 features, we have seen an incredible amount of road mortality. And so the foundation of the program started with people going up and down the highways, collecting dead things, scraping them off the road, and taking data marks. The hopes is that when they develop the highway into the twinning system, so the 2 lanes, is that we will be able to help advise and assert that proper mitigations go in on Magnetawan First Nation so that we can keep connectivity between the landscapes. Having overpasses, bridges, so that our turtles and snakes can pass the road safely, but also our moose and our bear and all these other species that are all connected. So our purpose, so we started with road ecology, but if we're always onboarding new people to come scrape dead things off the road and bringing researchers into our community, we needed to empower our community to take that ownership, that guardianship back, to teach our kids, to start outreach. I am so proud when I bring the youth from MAG to outreach events and someone asks them what species of turtle this picture is, because all their hands go up. And I don't know many kids who can ID snakes and turtles, but I sure as heck proud of the kids at MAG. That young gentleman sitting over there, Darian, he's been working in our department for the last 4 years, or it's going on 5. And Darian was sitting where you guys are sitting, maybe even a bit younger, listening to presentations, coming to outreach events. And now he's working there. He's graduated high school. He's still working with us. And it's that type of stewardship. It's people working in their own community who have this connection to what we're doing. That's how we're going to move forward. That's how we're going to take us all into the future. And so empowering ourselves, our youth, every elder I've ever spoken to, the youth are the future. That is a constant message. And we hear you. And Theodore hears you. This idea of youth and empowering, I've never seen someone champion that harder than Theodore has. Prioritizing the community's value and the community's knowledge into all our work. It is most wonderful that we can go out and collect all kinds of Western science, all kinds of data collection. And sometimes at the end of the day, we get results that are exactly what our elders were saying. They already know that. We don't need to go and reprove the same things over and over. We need to trust, we need to move forward, and we need to value that knowledge. And so we can use different ways, but ensuring that the Indigenous science voice is heard at that table is a priority. Creating safe and ethical space. It's wonderful to learn, but if it's not a safe space to share, not a safe space to be yourself, then it's not a safe space to learn. And that's not what we're going for. Advocating that our communities can do the work if we build programs for them. Let's not try and put something that doesn't work into our communities. They know what they need, and each community is very different. What works in Wiki may not work in MAG, but if you ask them, they will tell you. They will learn. I have an example of one of our community initiatives in a bit. And then building that capacity. Still a continuous struggle. I don't see it changing in the future, but we apply for lots of grants, lots of paperwork to be able to hire people, to be able to empower them. And so bringing that capacity back into and not having to hire outside our communities is really important and is a priority. Doesn't mean that there isn't a space and a value for outside, but it's the strength from within that's going to last. So different types of monitoring. So our team has grown. Some years we use some techniques to monitor animals. Some years we don't. So for example, our Mississauga rattlesnakes. For a while, we were just doing population monitoring. We were taking pictures, locations, hibernation sites. We had an expert on our team who was really invested in rattlesnakes, and we've been tubing and pit tagging to learn more details about these cryptic species. They're pretty hard to find, and I know everybody loves snakes. Just the Mississauga rattlesnake has a really, really special place with MAG, but also I've never met a snake. They're just so wonderful, and they're not trying to attack us. They're not coming at us like the water snake. If anyone wants to hear some fun stories, they should talk to Theodore after about water snakes. But the Mississauga rattlesnake, it just wants to be left alone. It's defending itself, not out to get you. And so using these methods and getting out there and having our community on the land, collecting our species, it's still valuable information because the world is changing. Our species are moving, and it's good to understand what's happening and how things are being impacted. Yes. Oh, yes. So we have a rattlesnake in here. So the first thing, do you want to explain how we catch a rattlesnake? Okay. So we have sets of tongs or hooks, and you can hook your snake or grab him and put him in a pillowcase. And then we stick him in this little laundry basket. And then there's like a anyone have any crafty aunties or out there? You ever seen those green grid patterns that they measure their fabric on? So that's what's in there, and the snake goes on top of that. And so when we take a picture, we can put it on the computer, and then we can use digitizing and trace the snake and measure how long it is, because there's a grid in the picture. So that way we can say, oh, this snake was this long, and we can ID them because each snake has an individual blotch pattern. And I'm not going to talk too much about snakes because I know there's a presentation on snakes. So, so then once they're in the basket, we convince them very gently. Sometimes they're too feisty and they don't want to, but sometimes they will climb up your tube and then you can just grab them. That way we can measure, we look at their subcaudal, you can see if it's a male or a female. You can do a little bit more invasive procedures, but that is what is happening right there. And that was our previous lands manager, Samantha Naganosh. They're holding the snake in the tube. So we did reptile monitoring. So we do our snakes, but we also do turtles. So we have all our turtles are species at risk. Everyone knew that, right? Even the snapping turtle. Even though there used to be a hunting season for snapping turtles, there isn't anymore. They are all endangered. Do you have a question? You can ask. Okay. Okay. We like turtles and we measure them. Here's some of our population numbers. I'm skipping ahead because I really just mostly want to talk about collaboration work and bringing the kids back on the land. And one really amazing benefit of having this relationship with Theodore and Wiikwemkoong is Magnetawan is very, very small. We have our lands elder advisor here with us today. But we don't have that many knowledge keepers left. Sorry, Richard is over here. There. We don't have that many knowledge keepers left. We don't have that knowledge within our community anymore. It's been separated and it's been taken. And so having the ability to bring our youth to our neighboring communities, to meet with knowledge keepers, to meet elders, to see other communities and other youth is a really important piece of our Guardians program, and making sure that those kids have an opportunity to understand and know their own history, their own past. Maybe not from their direct ancestors, but somebody who still has that knowledge, because that's very few and far between. And you are very, very valuable. And I appreciate every knowledge keeper, every elder, every youth, and every person that came today to support this, because it means a lot. Just cool stuff about turtles. You can ask very scientific questions, and you can ask your other questions, your knowledge questions. What does it mean? What does it mean when we think about the heart and what that is? There's more than just habitat and what the turtle looks like and how big it is. There's this whole other piece of what does it mean to our community? What does it mean if it's gone? How important is this for us to fight for and protect? And the other really important piece is ownership, control, access, and possession of data, of information. To do some of this work, you do have to engage with the government. But what does that mean for our communities, and how can we empower our communities to have that data? It's on their land, it belongs to them. And if they don't want to share it, and if they want to have it, then it belongs to them. And making sure that that process is in all our research, all our partnerships, and everything we're doing. We're making sure that we're empowering the community to make the best decisions for the land and for the environment. Oh, there's Mr. Snapper. So we do a community nesting initiative. And this is because of those anthropogenic features, those roads. So the government, MTO, built highways, and then they put sand on the side of them. That looks like a pretty good spot to nest for a lot of turtles. Not a great outcome when the turtle hatchlings, well, A, when mother is trying to get to the nest, or when the turtles are emerging from the nest. So we have a lot of community members who love to ride 529 and send us pictures and locations of where they're seeing turtles on the sides of the roads. And that way we can go in and put nest cages if it's appropriate, or excavate the nests that they're going to be digging to put a culvert in there. Those eggs are going to get damaged, so we can take them out and we can incubate, and then we release to the safest location. It does create a lot of work, but it does have its pros and cons. We have a lot of youth that come in who they remember the turtle from 3 years ago that they called Elsa, and they put it in this wetland, and next year it was Olaf. And they remember, and they come back, and it excites them. It puts that little spark, might be small, but it's there, and turtles might not be for everyone. But we also do construction monitoring, and I have never seen a grown man frown at a baby turtle. Our collaboration work with the WISE Lab. So outreach and education being something that we have in every single one of our projects. What good of it to learn something if we are keeping it to ourselves? We want to share that. We want to make sure the kids are benefiting from this. It is so important. It is a crucial piece of partnerships and projects to make sure that we're giving back and that those kids understand and have a little buy-in of what's going on. The Wolf Project that we've all been involved with, it's been going on for a while, but developing it and doing it in a right way is beneficial. It is the goal. Let's not do things fast, let's do things right. A project that we did with the WISE Lab, they have left us the structures of a camera trap monitoring program. I now have a full-time employee who can monitor these cameras, who does the data collection. Sometimes it's tedious going through thousands of false triggers, but somebody's got to do it. And it keeps him busy throughout the whole year. So this way I have a capacity. I have a full-time job. The information we learn, what species are out there? How many are we seeing? How are they using the land? Does it change depending on the seasons? So we can monitor anything. So it's gamed at medium to large mammals. That doesn't mean we aren't picking up a mouse or a bird or all kinds of things. One time it was a skink. If people don't know what a skink is, it's the only lizard in Ontario. It's got sometimes a little blue tail, fast. But that can help inform our environmental management plan and our land use plan. So when we're developing and building our infrastructure in our communities, we're making the best choices for those animals, for the environment, so that it can all continue to work together. We need to learn how to coexist within what these species are giving us. And I'll go with any questions. I think I have maybe a minute left. Yeah. Mhm. I believe they did when it was originally input. I am not aware if they are continuing to monitor that. But that is something I can look into and let Theodore know. But yeah, good question. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer. And I think that's it. Chimiigwech, everyone.